Barbie's cries faded. They walked, her hope slipping away with each step back to Juba's dark and twisted world. Unknown to Kizo, Barbie had already spoken to the police before he found her. In those quiet, tense moments outside the station, she had poured out her story, telling the officers everything about Juba's house of horrors. She told them how each girl was brought with promises of work, but was instead trapped and forced into terrible things, their lives controlled by Juba's cruel hands. She explained that the girls weren't workers, they were prisoners, and any attempt to escape meant certain doom. Barbie had chosen her words carefully, leaving out Kizo's name. She feared that if Kizo knew she'd spoken to the police, he would stop her, maybe even try to end her forever. She knew her brother was tangled in Juba's dark web, too blinded by greed to protect his own blood. So she kept her secret, hoping the police would do something before Kizo brought her back to that terrible place. Kizo, on the other hand, thought everything was under control as he returned Barbie to Juba's mansion. He felt relieved, even proud. He had done what Juba asked, and now his precious payments would continue. He believed he was safe, that his secrets were still buried deep. But Barbie had set things in motion, like the first crack in a dam. The police now had a glimpse into the dark world Juba had built, and while Kizo went on with his plan, thinking he had secured his fortune, the truth was quietly making its way to the surface, ready to burst open and change everything. As Kizo led Barbie back to Juba's mansion, they noticed something unusual from a distance. The front gate was wide open, and there were police cars parked all around. Uniformed officers moved through the grounds, their voices sharp and commanding. Kizo's heart sank, his hands going cold with fear. When they got closer, Kizo saw Juba, handcuffed and surrounded by officers. His face was no longer smug or confident. It was pale with anger and fear. The police were searching every corner of the mansion, opening doors, checking hidden rooms, and bringing out girls who had been trapped there, each one looking scared and relieved all at once. But even as they rescued some of the girls, it was clear to everyone that not all of them could be found. One of the officers confronted Juba, his voice firm. "Where are the other girls?" he demanded. Juba, realizing there was no escape, looked down and mumbled, I sold some, and others." His voice trailed off, his eyes darting away. The officer's face grew dark with disgust as he listened, and Kizo's heart pounded, realizing just how deep the horror went. He had brought his own sisters, his own flesh and blood, into this nightmare without even asking what kind of work they would be doing. The truth was laid bare before him, and he couldn't hide behind his greed any longer. Before he could react, officers moved toward him, handcuffing him as well. "You're under arrest too," they told him. "You helped bring these girls here. You took the money and stayed silent." Kizo tried to stammer, to deny it, but his guilt was clear, and there was no escaping the shame that flooded over him. Together, he and Juba were led away in cuffs, while the remaining girls, including Barbie, were taken into the care of the officers. The dark empire Juba had built crumbled in that moment, and Kizo, once the pride of Namoda, was now nothing but a prisoner, chained by his own greed and betrayal. When news of Kizo's arrest reached Namoda, it spread like wildfire. At first, the villagers were confused, unable to believe that their own Kizo, the man they had trusted, was involved in something so terrible. But as the truth unfolded, shock turned to sorrow, and sorrow to deep, burning anger. They learned that the girls hadn't been working honest jobs in the big town, nor were they leading lives of respect, as Kizo had promised. Instead, they had been prisoners in Juba's mansion, trapped and forced into shameful work against their will. The villagers were heartbroken, realizing that their daughters had been living in a nightmare while they had trusted Kizo's every word. Mothers wept openly. Fathers clenched their fists, their faces filled with anger and hurt. They remembered all the times Kizo had come back to the village, dressed in fancy clothes and driving a rented car, bringing gifts and telling stories of success. It was all a lie, every sack of food, every promise. The gifts weren't from the girls, and the success Kizo had flaunted was nothing but borrowed shine. In the end, both Kizo and Juba faced justice. The court sentenced them to life in prison, a fitting punishment for the dark deeds they had committed. Juba, the mastermind of the scheme, and Kizo, who had sacrificed his own family's trust and love for greed, would spend their lives behind bars, left to reflect on the pain they had caused. Thank you so much for watching this intense and gripping story on African Tales by Imade. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And hey, we'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below so we can give you a special shout out in our next video. Don't forget to share these stories so more people can watch and learn. Until next time, stay tuned for more captivating tales. Bye, guys.